basics about credit score, right? Like, you know what it is, the definition of it, you know there are three different types, and the fact that it's regional, so depending on where you are in the country, the US being the example, will depend on what kind of credit score that you have, and you know that the ranges based on what would be considered poor credit, fair credit, good credit, and great credit, right? Yeah, good, you should, because if you watched last week's video, you would know that. If not, stop right now and go watch last week's video, part 1, the basics. But if you do know that, do you know how the factors of credit score affect it? Do you even know what the factors are? Well, if the answer to that is no, then good. Stay tuned, because that's what we're going to be talking about today in part 2, credit score, the factors that affect it. What's going on, beautiful people, and welcome back to Hustling and Healing. For those of you just joining me, my name is Bree, and I am the creator of this channel. Happy Monday. We made it through another week in our year of the Corona 2020, and we're doing our best to thrive out here and to push through it despite the circumstances. And I just want to say that I'm proud of all of you for getting up today and doing something, whatever that might be. But I am going to talk about credit score today, so hopefully I can help you figure out a little bit of your financials if you have some downtime. Now would be a perfect time to do it, or if you're trying to dig yourself out of the rut, maybe you're unemployed, or maybe paychecks are looking tight because your hours are cut, whatever. It's never a bad time to get your credit right. So hopefully this video can help you understand what goes into your credit score a little more, because today we're going to be talking about the 5 factors that affect your credit score, because today is Monday, which means it's Mo Money Monday. Mo Money Monday. It's Mo Money Mondays. Excuse my terrible beatboxing, but it was fun, so I did it anyway. But as I said, we're going to be talking about the 5 factors that affect your credit score, and those being your payment history, your credit utilization, and with that will be your ratio, your credit history length, your credit mix, and finally your new credit. So those are the 5 factors that affect your credit score. So the first one we're going to jump right in is your payment history. As I said in previous videos, this is the most important thing. Your payment history. You want to show to lenders that you're a good borrower, that you're going to pay back their money, because no one likes to give money to someone and not get it back. Like, especially if you promise, and that's what you did when you signed up for a credit card, is that you would pay it back. Or when you got accepted for that loan, it was on the basis that you would pay the money back. So your payment history is the number 1 factor that affects your credit score, coming in at a whopping 35% of your credit score is determined by your payment history. So if you're making payments on time, if you're making consistent payments, if you're paying at least the minimum, that's definitely helping keep your credit score up. I'm not saying it's going to be your save, your Hail Mary, and the end-all be-all, but 35% is a lot of percentage to be playing around with. So pay those minimums, at the very minimum, on time. Pay it on time, because it helps. Every little bit helps. So that moves us into number 2, which is your credit utilization. I've also spoken about this in past videos. Your credit utilization is the amount of money that you have used on your credit, like the amount of credit that you're using over your total credit limit. And this is across all of your credit cards, all of your loans, student loans, housing, your mortgage, your car loans, everything. So take all of the credit that you are using, put that on top of the equation, and then all of your credit or your total limits for all of those loans, put that on the bottom, and then divide them into each other. So the quotient would be your ratio and that will be your credit utilization ratio. And again, you want that to be 30% or less. Anything above 30% is considered risky behavior essentially, and it lowers your credit score. And ironically enough, your credit utilization ratio, so how much money you're using versus how much of your total limit you have, comes in at 30% of your credit, like determining your credit score. So that's the second heaviest hitting factor. The first one being payment history, the second one being your credit utilization. So in layman's terms, how much money you're using versus your total credit limit. So that's your credit utilization. So you want to make sure that that is 30% or below, because that is what keeps you in that safe zone to lenders. So your third one is going to be your credit history length. So this one's a little tough for late millennials and early Gen Zers, because chances are you probably haven't had credit for too long. Maybe you got a credit card in college like me, maybe even a little earlier in high school like some people I know, but that's not a terribly long time. What is it, 6 years, 7 years? And that affects your credit score as how long you've had your accounts, which is unfortunate for us, but they want to see that you have a long, consistent history of making your payments on time and utilizing your credit in a responsible way, 30% or below, and that will also affect your credit score, and that comes in at 15%. So how long you've had your accounts open for, whether it be a credit card, whether it be your student loan, whether it be a mortgage, whether it be a car loan, a boat loan, whatever, how long that account has been open. The older it is and the more payments you've made towards it, it'll look better and it'll help your credit score come up. The newer it is, it'll be a little harder to prove that you're a responsible borrower, but as long as you consistently make those payments and you are responsible with how much credit you are using, eventually you'll be able to get that up. But luckily, it's really 15%, so it comes in at the third heaviest factor. So it's not too bad, but it's also not too small either. So that's going to be your third factor that affects your credit score. Your fourth factor, coming in at 10%, is your credit mix. What does this mean? This means that you have different lines of credit. So if you've ever bought a car or something like that, you bought a used car, bought a new car, and they wanted to run your credit to see what your credit is to determine how much your monthly payment would be, they're looking for credit lines. Credit lines being how many different lines of credit or accounts do you have to prove that you would be responsible in paying this back. Because again, what do lenders want? Lenders want to lend to people who they know are responsible and are good for their word and will return their money in time and the allotted time given to them. So a lot of people that are late millennials, early Gen Zers, and even some mid-millennials will come into a problem where they have something called false credit. And false credit is basically where you have this pretty, really pretty green credit score, but you only have one line of credit, and that might be a student loan, or that might be a credit card, or that might be something like that. So it gives you an illusion of the fact that your credit score is something, but because you don't have as many lines coming out of that credit score, there are not as many things affecting it, and that can sometimes be either a red flag or cause some larger lending companies to pause. So, short anecdote, that happened to me when I bought my first car. I applied for a loan through 3 different banks, and I got turned down by 2 of them because they said that I had quote unquote false credit. Like I said, I finally managed to get my credit in the green, but because I only had one long-term credit line, which was my credit card, and I did have one short-term credit loan or credit line, which was a student loan, but because I paid that off, that line kind of just flatlined. It kind of went dead. So it looked to them as if like they weren't sure if they wanted to loan to me or not, because there wasn't enough proof in the pudding, essentially, about how I would be able to manage such a large payment weekly. Ultimately, one did take a chance on me, thank God, because I need that car to get around and go to work. But that is something that a lot of credit bureaus will look at, and a lot of people who are lender, or a lot of companies that are lenders will look at, is how many credit lines. So this is important because with your credit mix, the more lines of credit you have, really the closer to your true credit score you get when you do get that number, And the stronger ultimately it will be if you're being a responsible borrower and you're paying on time and doing things like that. And how you can have a good credit mix is that can come in so many different forms, whether it be you have a student loan and a credit card, which is something that I have now. Got one more student loan. I'm so close to paying that off. But student loan and credit card, and I also have a car loan. So that's a credit mix of 3 different things. Maybe you have a student loan, a mortgage, and a car loan. Maybe you have a mortgage, a credit card, and a car loan. Maybe you have any mix of anything. And there's so many different types of loans and credit lines out there. And I'm not going to go into it because this video will be like 20, 30 minutes long. But you want to make sure that you have a good mix of credit lines going into your credit score because, like I said, that gives you a better idea of what your true credit score is. And that puts a lot of lenders at ease because it shows that you can be responsible in lending in different aspects of credit and credit worlds and like borrowing worlds. So that is number 4, and that comes in at a whopping 10%. So that is the 4th heaviest hitting factor out of the 5. And finally, the 5th one is your new credit. So what accounts have you just opened? So did you just get a car loan? Like for me, my car loan is my newest account open, so that will be my newest form of credit, my newest credit line. So that comes in at 10% of my credit score factors. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. I'm paying it on time. I'm making sure that the amount that I owe stays at 30% of what I'm using, X, Y, and Z, etc. But, and again, that goes across all of your credit lines, not just that one account. But that also affects it because, like I said, with your credit history length, that comes into play, and that comes in at 15%. So this one, your new credit, comes in at 10%, which is a little less, but still makes an impact. So your new credit lines will, sometimes a lot of people will see their credit score take a dip when they open up a new line of credit. Sometimes they may go up, depending on a lot of different factors. But your new credit comes in at 10%. So whatever new accounts you may have just opened slightly affects your credit score, but is the least out of all of them. So again, your heaviest hitting factor, number 1 of 5, is your payment history. Please, God, people, pay your things on time. Even if it's just the minimum, pay it on time. I like to pay my credit card twice a month. I'm not saying that you have to. I just like to do that because I don't like seeing that large number every month. But that's how I do it. But that's how I can also make sure that they're getting the minimum every month regardless. The second one that comes in at 35%. 35% people. Pay your things on time. So the second one comes in at 30%, and that is your credit utilization. And again, that ratio is the amount of credit that you are using, so the amount of money that you owe to all of your credit accounts at the top over your total credit limit across all of your accounts. So the amount of money you're using over your total limits, divide that into each other, and your quotient equals your ratio. And what is that ratio? That ratio is your credit utilization, and that comes in a whopping 30%. And that is also something you want to make sure stays at 30% or less to keep you in the safe zone to lenders and lenders' minds and the bureau's minds, all of that. So make sure that you are only using 30% of your total credit limit across all your accounts, because then you'll be in the green for that, and it won't impact your score too much. So that comes in at 30%, and that's the second heaviest hitting factor. The third factor, coming in right in the middle, is your credit history length. So, like I discussed, the longer you have your accounts, the better it looks, because it shows that you're a responsible borrower, you're paying that money on time consistently, and your consistency has been over a long period of time. So that comes in at a whopping 15%. So right in the middle of the road. And then your fourth one is your credit mix. So what types of lines of credit do you have? Do you have a credit card? Do you have a student loan? Do you have a boat loan? I don't know. Did you buy an island? Did you get a loan on that? Whatever. But that is your credit mix, and that comes in at 10%, and that's the fourth heaviest factor affecting your credit score. And finally, the fifth factor affecting your credit score, also coming in at 10%, are your new credit, and those are the accounts that you most recently opened across your accounts, and that affects your credit score by 10%. So right now, as I'm speaking, you should see a pie chart with those varying percentages and how they weigh, just to give you a visual. But those are the 5 factors that affect your credit score. So I'm gonna stop saying credit score. I'm sure you're rolling your eyes, but that's it for this video. That's it for Mo Money Monday, and this is credit score part 2, and it's all about the factors that affect your credit score. And finally, next week we're gonna have we're gonna have part 3, which is credit score, how to better your credit score, the things that you can do to increase your credit score. So that's going to be part 3, and that's going to be next week on next Monday for next Mo Money Monday. So thank you so much for tuning into Hustling and Healing. I really appreciate it. If you like this video, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. If you have any comments, good, bad, or otherwise, please drop that in the comments down below. Also, be sure to hit that bell down below to get notifications every time I post a new video. If you are interested in following me on other forms of social media, I am on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and of course YouTube, which I'm sure you're watching this video on. And if you're interested in checking out my other content, I do post 3 times a week, and those are Monday, which is today, and that's Mo Money Monday, and that's all about your hustling aspect of this channel, and that is your financial literacy and well-being. I post on Wednesdays, which is hustling and healing combined to form wellness, and that's all about physical fitness and health literacy and well-being, because I believe that that's equally as important as hustling and healing. You got to combine them to make yourself physically fit and to make yourself physically healthy in all those regards. And that is going to be Wellness Wednesdays. So I post fitness tips. I post, I ask questions. I post questions. This week's going to be vitamins and supplements. So if you're interested in hearing about that, tune in on Wednesday. Again, hit that bell, and it'll let you know when I post that video. And finally, I post on Sundays, which is Self-Love Sundays, and that's the healing aspect of hustling and healing. And that is all about radical self-love, self-acceptance, reflection, introspection, all of those good things to help you mentally heal, and to keep you mentally well as emotionally well. Because I truly believe that when you are financially well, you're physically well, and you're mentally well, you can truly take control of your narrative. And that's all we're about here at Hustling and Healing. So if you're interested, check back on one of those segments. I'd really appreciate it. But otherwise, that's it for today. Thanks so much for tuning in. I hope you all have a wonderful Monday wherever you are, and I will see you on Wednesday for Wellness Wednesday. Bye.